Welcome to the Boxing Source Midweek Report, where we tackle the latest topics in the sport of boxing here up to this point every single Wednesday. Time to start the show. Yeah, yeah. What's up, everybody? What's good? What's happening? It's October 1st, 2025. Yep, this is Wednesday. This is the latest edition of the Boxing Source Midweek Report. We had like a few things that's been going on as far as like boxing news and things like that here over the past couple of days. We're just coming off of the show that we had with Coach Ronnie Shields yesterday. We had like a number of things that we talked about in that particular episode of the show. We're going to see if we're going to touch on those or a couple of topics from that show here today. But we also want to touch on what's happening here when it comes to the overall rankings here for the World Boxing Association. Right, I want to see if I could get these things pulled up here real quick. Kind of like go through a number of them there in these particular divisions here, so that we kind of break down the number of things that's happening with that, and potential fights or fights that have already taken place. You know what I mean? So we wanted to kind of like take a look at that here in this one. As let's see if I'll be able to share the screen here with the official rating. So just give me a little bit here. We're going to get that particular tab up here real quick, right? All right, so bet. So we're gonna have this thing here. Let me go ahead and have this thing on the presentation screen. So yeah, there we go. We got that. Everything is good. Everything is showing up here, and I'm gonna see if I could expand it here a little bit. I don't need all of this stuff right here. You don't need to have that in the sidebar, right? Now we got it right where we should have it. So now we're gonna look into this thing here with the heavyweight division. Starting off, of course, you have the undisputed heavyweight champion, old Xander Usyk, there as the super champion for the WBA. There is also a world champion there in Kubrat Pulev, and the WBA interim champion there in Fabio Wardley. So we know with Fabio Wardley, he has the upcoming bout against Joseph Parker. There, you had Joseph Parker as the interim champion for the WBO. Fabio Wardley is there as the interim champion for the WBA. I don't know if it's going to be like a unified interim championship or not. We've had that before in the light heavyweight division when you had David Benavidez and David Morrell Jr. there. So I don't know if they're going to have something like that happen here for that heavyweight bout that's coming up between Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley on October 25th in Greenwich, the O2 Arena in Greenwich, right? So do have Fabio Wardley there as the interim champion. Moses Atama, of course, the fast rising heavyweight there as the intercontinental champion. You got an interim champion, you got an intercontinental champion. You see like a continental gold champion there in Philip Hergovich that had, also a recent win. Moses Atama, of course, had the stoppage win over Dylan White in the first round. Yeah, Michael Hunter there at number 2 there. And of course, Michael Hunter was supposed to have a fight with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. But of course, that ain't happened. So that's kind of like off the grid, right? Number 3, you have Linear Pero. Linear Pero actually has an upcoming bout on November 1st at Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida, against Jordan Thompson. That is a 10-round bout, and that is scheduled to be shown live on the Zone. You also have Martin Bacoli there at number 4. Philip Hergovich at number 5. Jarrell Miller, as I mentioned, that could have had that fight against Michael Hunter. There at number 6. Nelson Husa, not Hysa, Hysa, but it's Nelson Husa, is there at number 7. And if you caught yesterday's show, we brought up the name of Nelson Husa as he is potentially slated to face the WBC interim champion there in Agit Cabello. That could be hosted in Germany. So if that fight happens, man, ooh, that we said, hey, that could be one fight to really watch out for Agit Cabello. This isn't a fighter that is like a Zalay Zhang or like who is it, Arslanbek Makhmadov or anybody like that. Like Heisa is very active there, so he got to watch out. David Allen is also there in the rankings. We did have some news about Dave Allen there, as he is coming up to face Arslanbek Makhmadov on October 11th. Now, Eddie Hearn says that Dave Allen, if he gets the win over Arslanbek Makhmadov, could have a fight with Deontay Wilder. He said, and in that one, like Eddie Hearn was talking about, I like the Deontay Wilder fight. We reached out to Shelly Finkel to talk about that, but let's see what happens on October 11th first. Yeah, we'll see about all that. Danny Arpero, of course, Lenny Arpero's uh, brother is there in the rankings as well. So we got to see what's up with him later on down the line. And then you got what Gergen Hofenesian that's also in the rankings. Mahmoud Shah, what is a former champion here, WBA champion, whatever championship belt he had. You got Gassiev in there, Justice Huni, Joseph Goodall there within the top 15 there at heavyweight. All right. Going to Bridgeweight, you got there's a world champion Muslim. God, Muslim, god damn, what kind of a last name is that? I have no idea, man. You know what I mean? So I had to I don't know what to make of that name. You also have an interim champion at Bridgeweight. You got an interim champion at Bridgeweight. Bridgeweight pretty much has just started off, man, and now you mean to tell me that there's interim champion for Bridgeweight? Come on, what are we doing here? All right. And as you see, there's only one other sanctioning body that has a Bridgeweight champion, and that's the WBC, and Kevin Lorena, who had, I think, a fight that was at Wembley Stadium some time back, but that was in the heavyweight division, and he fell short in that particular bout there. So that didn't really affect his status in the Bridgeweight division. They got like Andrew Tabiti there as one of the contenders there in that. He's supposed to be fighting on October 31st here coming up, but we'll see how that works out for him on that one. Who else we have? I'm trying to see. You don't even see but one other fighter there from the U.S. that's in that rankings, man. So that's why to be honest with you, not very many people really follow the Bridgeweight rankings on that front. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. Cruiserweight, you have Zerdo Ramirez there as a WBA champion. Of course, he's also the WBO champion. There, they don't have a rating there for the first spot in those rankings. You have Leonardo Mosquera there at number 2, Leonardo Perez at number 3, Alois Yumbi at number 4, Mike Perez, the Intercontinental Champion, there at number 5, Junior Dorchikos, who lost to Gilberto Ramirez earlier this year, at number 6. You have former world champion Chris Billum Smith there at number 9. And what Billum Smith, or as I call him, John Cena, he has a thing where he was involved in like a purse bid there. I think it's for the WBO interim championship. So he has to kind of like get through that there as well, right? So we'll see what happens when it comes to Chris Billum Smith and that. I think he is supposed to be against Roman Fres, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check if it's that through the WBO rankings or whatnot. So yeah, when it comes to all of that, I have to check if they have any update there for that. It should be that. Oh yeah, they did a new date there for Chris Billam-Smith and Roman Fresh. It's supposed to be scheduled for Thursday, October 9th. Okay, so Thursday, October 9th for that one. So you ain't really necessarily worried about these rankings here for the WBA for Chris Billam-Smith and Roman Fresh. They're on that. Arsen Golamarian, former world champion, is on there. And yes, you do see Jake Paul still there at number 14 in the cruiserweight rankings. And yes, he does have that exhibition match there coming up against Gervonta Tank Davis on Friday, November 14th. We moving here quickly to the light heavyweight division. Yes, you do have the unified champion there at light heavyweight, Dimitri Bivol as the WBA super champion. David Benavidez there as the world champion, even though David Benavidez is the full WBC champion. Man, I don't know how that's supposed to all work. Albert Ramirez is the WBA interim champion. We had like a recent bout there that was, I think, part of a WBA event that happened some time back. I have to go back and check. He's undefeated there, and that was like over in Benghazi, getting a stoppage win over Jerome Pamplone or Pamploni or whatever it is. Pamploni, pepperoni. Like I said, man, you kind of butcher a lot of these names. Arthur Beterbiev there at number one. He has the upcoming bout there, November 22nd. David Morrell Jr. We have to see if there's going to be news with David Morrell and Callum Smith coming up. Not sure yet. Nothing has been necessarily locked in for that. So that's the thing about it. Shout out to Tim Taylor there real quick on the live chat, man. I'm going to get to that comment there in a minute. You got Anthony Yard, of course, who has his upcoming bout November 22nd against David Benavidez for the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship. It includes Arlen Lopez in the rankings, Sharabuddin Atayev, Daniel Lapin, Atif Overton, there from the Philadelphia area, Dion Nicholson, who will be facing Artur Beterbiev. So I don't know if that's supposed to be a WBA final eliminator that's going to be for November 22nd between Beterbiev and Nicholson. But we'll see. You got Felix Sturm, of course, like former world champion there in the rankings. Najee Lopez there that had his bout on Pro Box, right? Where he had the stoppage victory there against Calvin Henderson. So you got Najee Lopez there now at number 10 in the rankings. Ben Whitaker is there at number 11. You got Zach Parker, former contender there at number 13 as one of those notable fighters within light heavyweight 175. And just quickly going through this thing here for super middleweight. Of course, you have the newly crowned undisputed super middleweight champion Terrence Crawford getting his win over Canelo Alvarez at Allegiant Stadium a couple of weeks ago. You got Canelo there at number one. They're going to put him there to see what's going to be happening with Terrence Crawford for his next bout. Because Terrence Crawford only has like one fight a year, so that he ain't going to be fighting again this year. So it's just about what the WBA will do in order to kind of like enforce their rules if they're going to make Canelo mandatory or whatever it is. Who knows, right? He got interim champion there, Jose Resendiz, of course, with his win over Caleb Plant. You got Bekmatir Melikuziev there with Beck the Bully there at number 2. That's kind of interesting there that they have Beck the Bully there ranked at number 2. Of course, he had his win over Darius Fulgham there in May of this year. Pretty good fight. A pretty good fight on a Golden Boy card. I don't know if you're able to get the full fight, but if you're able to catch the highlights, it was a pretty good fight there on that one. Jamal Charlo, of course, had his win over Thomas Lamana there on that card. They had Caleb Plant losing to Jose Resendiz. He's there at number 3. Hamzah Sheeraz there at number 4, of course, with his stoppage win over Edgar Berlanga over in Queens. Mentioned the thing there with Caleb Plant losing. I mentioned the thing there with Darius Fulgham losing. You got Callum Simpson there at number 7. Diego Pacheco there at number 9. Yeah, I don't know, man. That might be a little bit low for Diego Pacheco, but he's still like up there when it comes to the WBO rankings. So I don't think Pacheco, at least at this particular point, is all too worried or stressed out about this here, because as far as I know, Pacheco is like rated number one in the WBO rankings for super middleweight, and there's been a lot of movement there when it comes to that. Actually, I take that back. He's moved down to number three because when the WBO updated the rankings for Terrence Crawford winning the undisputed championship, they also put Canelo Alvarez there at number one. Hamzah Sheeraz is number two, real quick for the WBO rankings, and then Diego Pacheco's number three. So there you go. That's kind of like what we got there so far when it comes to those particular rankings there at super middleweight. And then you got here for middleweight, you got Erislan De Lara. I don't know when he's gonna actually have a bout here defending that middleweight title. Like when was the last time that Lara basically stepped in the ring? You know what I mean? That's kind of that's kind of wild. You know what I mean? That that's happening there on that front, right? So, with that being said, you got Erislan De Lara there as the champion. You got, fellow, well, I wouldn't necessarily say fellow countrymen because uh, you got Yuenli Hernandez there as the number one contender. He should be, you know what I mean? He should be the guy next in line to, fight for that belt. But Yuenli Hernandez does have an upcoming bout there that's supposed to be on slate here, that kind of like a stay busy bout of sorts, right? So have to look that up because I've seen a recent notice there about Yuenli Hernandez getting back in the ring, right? So it says that he will be in the ring there against Carlos Muhammad Rodriguez, and that's supposed to be at the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. So they got him, getting busy there, and that one in a 10-round bout. You don't want to know what the record of Carlos Rodriguez is at this particular point. That you don't need to worry about all that. But you got Chris Eubank Jr. there at number four, Emma Williams at number three. Of course, Chris Eubank has his upcoming rematch against Conor Benn coming up. Who else is there? Denzel Bentley, of course, a world title challenger. Yuri Cedeno is coming up in the rankings there. There at number 10. It's been on some top ranked cards here and there. So that's also another fighter to look into there within the middleweight rankings. But a lot of these fighters, I don't see much progress when it comes to those rankings there in the WBA in the middleweight division, particularly with Erislan De Lara. Like, who is going to be his next opponent for him to defend that title? I don't even see it within this particular list. It's not going to be Hernandez. Like I said, Hernandez got an upcoming fight here, and once again, that is going to be on Sunday, October 12th, at the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. Right, so. For Lara, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe they'll try to see if they could have a unification, Lara versus Adames, but even with that, I don't even see that happening there. And with Janibek being the champion in the IBF and the WBO, there is stuff that we're going to be talking about there later on down the line on that. Super welterweight 154. You got Abass Baraou recently named the WBA champion, as Terrence Crawford is the undisputed super middleweight champion. So we gave up those belts. You got Boots Ennis there at number one. He has his upcoming bout against Luisma Lima there on October 11th. Lima actually moved up from, I think it was number 10 to number 8 now in these rankings. You have Isaac Lucero here that has his rising up in the rankings as well. Like, he is going to be on the October 25th card there. So I think he will kind of get a little bit more traction here as he's undefeated there. He's going up against Roberto Valenzuela Jr. On October 25th. So that's another fighter to look into there within those rankings. You got Andreas Katsarakis there at number 5. Of course, had his win over Brandon Adams, who was able to score another win there on September 13th in that rematch that he had. So Katsarakis is one fighter to look out for. Yoenis Tejas is down to number 4 after losing to Abass Baraou. You also have who I would say Johan Gonzalez maybe is someone to look at there in the super welterweight division for the WBA, but other than that, not really, not really. You know what I mean? All right, so welterweight, you got Rolly Romero as the champion. You got Iamana Stanionis there as former champion. There at number 2. Iamana Stanionis recently had his bout in his home country of Lithuania, getting a decision win there. You got Shakram Giasov, that has been the mandatory challenger for, I don't know, like 11 to 12 months. And I have not seen any progress as for Giasov getting an opportunity to fight Rolly Romero for that world title. Okay. Connor Ben is there at number 6 when he hasn't really been fighting at the welterweight division for over a year, looks like. Gabriel Maestre, former WBA champion, regular champion, whatever you want to call it, there at number 8. You have Jose Roman there at number 11 with that Continental North America's title. Okay. He should be having a bout coming up as well. That is actually on October, what did I say? October 11th, right? So you should have Jose Roman there against Tamir Smalls on October 11th there at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. So that's going to be one kind of like bout to look at. Of course, with Jose Roman having a decision win over Jalil Hackett last year, they're supposed to have the rematch in March of this year, but due to Jalil Hackett suffering an injury, that fight got scrapped. So this will be that first bout for Jose Roman since that bout in Puerto Rico that he had against Jalil Hackett. And might be talking about Jalil Hackett here later on down the line. You do have the NABA welterweight champion Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw there at number 13. Initially, entered the rankings, I think around number 15. Now he is at number 13, and I'll see if I can catch up with Greg Outlaw to see if there's anything in the works for him, seeing if they're going to have another bout for him later this year. All right, so that is the welterweight rankings. Super lightweight, you got Gary Antoine Russell. Of course, it was announced that he will be facing a mandatory challenger there, Andy Hirooka, that is going to be on that Friday, November 14th card in Miami, Florida, the Casilla Center. So he'll be defending that title against Andy Hirooka. You got the WBA interim champion Alessandro Riguccini. I think Rigaccini was probably a recent interim champion there on that front. And then you got Ruben Nestor Neri. That's a name for you. Ruben Nestor Neri Munoz. Yeah, it is. But you also have Oscar Duarte there on that. Pretty good bout that Oscar Duarte had in his last encounter, man. I'm telling you, they had a good scrap there on, or what was it, in Chicago against Kenneth Sims Jr. He was able to get a majority decision win over Kenneth Sims Jr. there in that fight card. So he is there at number 3. Former WBC champion Alberto Puello, who does have a win over Gary Antoine Russell, there at number 4. Kenneth Sims Jr. there at number 5. Sandor Martin, former world title challenger, there at number 6, who did also lose to Alberto Puello. Right, so you also have Jermaine Ortiz there that has had a string of wins, particularly in Orlando and stuff like that. So he's going up in the rankings there at super lightweight. He was, what is it, has he even had that bout against? Well, it looked like it was scrapped. He was supposed to have a bout, that was supposed to be there at 140, but I guess that kind of was scrapped. You got Kevin Haler Brown there at number 10. Who else is notable? I think Badar Arjukumbayev there at number 13. So a lot of activity there for the WBA at super lightweight. You know what I mean? Shout out to Juice there in the building. Salute to you being here, part of this midweek report. We're supposed to have like a call, supposed to call in someone here as a guest of sorts here to in one of our topics that's coming up. But I'm just running through these WBA rankings that were like released today, like early today or whatever it is. So just going through that real quick. You got lightweight division, Tank Davis there as a world champion. Well, of course, with his draw against Lamont Rhodes Jr. And you don't have like an interim champion. You got a gold champion there in Francisco Fonseca. Didn't Tank beat Francisco Fonseca like a while ago? Floyd Schofield there at number one. Schofield is going to be part of that card, Golden Boy card, on November 8th, right? So he has a fight there that's it should be pretty good, for Schofield. Yeah, they were talking about potentially having Floyd Schofield facing the IBF champion, but nah, nah. That wasn't it. You got Lucas Body there at number two. Andy Cruz is there at number three. Andy Cruz is like higher ranked in I think the WBC and the IBF. So I don't think he's really worried about the WBA rankings at this point. You got Rayo Valenzuela, of course, former champion at 140, now ranked number seven at 135. Hmm. Hmm. Now I have to see what they could do with Rayo Valenzuela at this point. You got Albert Bell there in the lightweight rankings. Of course, he had his last bout over at the Huntington Center. I think it was sometime back, like about a couple of months ago. He's there as the the NABA champion. Okay, NABA, NABF, all that type of stuff it gets crazy at times. But he's there at number 10. You got Yadier Herrera there at number 12. Gabe Flores there at number 13. So that's a lot. Lamont Rhodes Jr. there is a super featherweight champion, but he is slated or supposed to be going for the world title, interim world title for the WBC at super lightweight. So yeah, I don't know how long he's going to be holding that world title belt there for the WBA 130. You got interim champion there, Joshua Dickens, won that belt recently. There, Ray Ford at number 4. Had his bout that was in Riyadh recently. So that's kind of like one of the probably the most notable name some of y'all could see there on this list for the top 15. You might have, former interim champion there. I think it's Albert Badagaziev. But Josh Padley, of course, had the loss to Shakur Stevenson in the lightweight division. Now he's ranked at super featherweight at number 6. So that's a few other things there that we got there. Austin Brooks rated at number 11. I think he could be having something coming up himself. So be on the lookout for all of that. Featherweight, you got Nick Ball. There's the world champion. Mirko Cuello as the interim champion there. Mirko Cuello, had a interesting bout of sorts on February 1st there against Christian Olivo, where he was losing that fight. He was certainly losing that fight. And then he scored a knockdown in the 10th round, and then another knockdown in the 10th round. And then when there was like about less than a minute left, the referee ended up stopping the fight. And I'm like, man, they shouldn't have stopped that fight. Right. But Cuello also had a bout that was over there in Benghazi, part of that WBA event. So he's there as the current interim champion right now. But with that being said, you have Brandon Figueroa, former WBC featherweight champion, there at number 1. Elijah Pierce there at number 2. And of course, Elijah Pierce has been on this show multiple times. I've interviewed him multiple times, talked with him. Recently he's talked about potentially going after Brandon Figueroa, Nick Ball, all of that stuff. But now he's there at number 2. Of course, he had his stoppage victory there on OTX there in his last bout. So, we're definitely looking to see what could be next there for Elijah Pierce. I think it's going to be some type of eliminator bout. it could be against like an Odebek Komatov or something like that to get him in position to fight for a world title there or for the WBA. So that's something to look for, right? We did talk about Christian Olivo there that had that stoppage loss to Mirko Cuello. He's there number 8. Joey Gonzalez, who some say may have beaten Brandon Figueroa in their bout. He's there at number 10. I was trying to see who else is out there to kind of like look out for. Maybe Omar Trinidad there at number 6. But outside of that, just looking at, the world champion there, Nick Ball, interim champion Mirko Cuello, Brandon Figueroa there at number 1, and Elijah Pierce at number 2. So I think that could lead to some real interesting bouts there within the featherweight division. Not sure if it'll be by the end of this year, but we're going to see how that's going to work itself out. And yeah, that I'll be trying to get something set up with Elijah Pierce here before the end of this year. We're going to the super bantamweight division. Naoya Inoue there at the WBA super champion. Of course, he is the undisputed champion there at 122 pounds. He have a WBA gold champion. Okay. But we see there Junto Nakatani there at number 1, former champion at bantamweight. Now they have, this whole thing going on that is going to take place in December over in Riyadh that involves Naoya Inoue on that card against David Picasso. And you're also going to have Junto Nakatani going up against Sebastian Hernandez, right? And that's in the super bantamweight division. So that all roads lead into a potential clash of Naoya Inoue and Junto Nakatani in 2026. But they are both going to be involved in the Ring 5 that's named Night of the Samurai. And yeah, it's supposed to be like they're supposed to like have some matchups with Japan versus Mexico or something. I don't freaking know anymore. They trying to piece it together or whatever it is. But you do have, of course, there Nakatani at number 1. Ramon Cardenas, who had the loss to Naoya Inoue, was able to have a knockdown against Inoue in May, but he's there at number 2. You got MJ Akhmadaliev, who recently lost to Naoya Inoue. They're at number 4. Gary Antonio Russell, they're at number 5. You got to see what's going to be next for him. He did have, a bout in like Pro Box there recently. So we got to see if he's going to be able to make some news there at Super Bantamweight. You also had like Sam Goodman there at number 9. David Picasso there at number 10. What was it? Outside of that, I would say just check out the top 10 within the super bantamweight rankings there, and then see if there's going to be any moves with the number of these fighters. You could potentially have maybe Ramon Cardenas versus Gary Antonio Russell. That could be a potential bout. Actually, you know what? I got to see if Ramon Cardenas versus Gary Antonio Russell could be in a fight card that could take place in San Antonio later this year. We'll see how that works. All right. Bantamweight, you got Antonio Vargas there as a world champion. Interim champion there is Nonito Donaire. Tenshin Nasukawa is there at number 1. Tenshin, of course, has been one of the most popular fighters there over in Japan. Has the upcoming bout against Takuma Inoue, though, on November 24th, and that's supposed to be for the vacant WBC Bantamweight Championship that was vacated by Junto Nakatani, right? So you got that's going on there. Daigo Higa, didn't Daigo Higa say that he's retired? I don't know, man. Wait, I thought Daigo Higa like had the bout that he had, and when he lost, he said that, or drew, or whatever it was, that he was retiring. I don't know, man. Hey, but the WBA still has him on his rankings. Okay, so there you go. And talk about the thing there with Tenshin going up against Takuma Inoue. So you got the number one ranked fighter in the WBA against the number three ranked fighter in the WBA for the vacant WBC title. Whoever wins, they get removed from the rankings. That's how it works. Um, you got Michael Angeletti there at number six. There that's climbing up in the bantamweight rankings. Of course, you got a lot of fighters like Kazuto Ioka, Ryosuke Nishida there with from Japan. That's part of that WBA rankings there as well. All right, so that's real quick on that. Super flyweight, you got Fernando Martinez there. That is, he's supposed to be having his fight against Jesse Bam Rodriguez. That's coming up. That's for November 22nd, right? So you're gonna have Bam Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez for the WBC, WBO, and WBA super flyweight titles. They're on November 22nd. So that's going to be big for Fernando Martinez. David Jimenez there is an interim champion. Chocolatito Gonzalez there at number two. John Ramirez at number one. I don't know what they're going to do with Chocolatito Gonzalez, man. Like if you're going to have Bam Rodriguez look like he's going to try to get all of the belts there at super flyweight, then what is going to be out there for Chocolatito Gonzalez? He had one of those fights over in what is it? What like a few weeks ago, actually, against Hector Robles. That was in his home country there in Nicaragua. So he's had a couple of fights in Nicaragua here this year. But then after that, I mean, they have to see what's up. But he said he wasn't looking all too hot against Hector Robles, man. Like getting a unanimous decision or something like that, man. I don't know, bro. He might just say, you know what? If I ain't gonna lock down a big fight here within the super flyweight division and get some money or good money off of that, then he might walk away from the joint. You know what I mean? But you see those rankings there. You got Charlie Edwards there at number 11. Yeah, I had to see like who else would kind of have like a potential bout there down the line, but I'm not even seeing one that could potentially happen here. I don't know. Maybe Chocolatito versus Rene Bibiano later on down the line. Who knows? All right. Flyweight, you got Ricardo Sandoval there as the world champion, right? So with Ricardo Sandoval there as your champion, you're gonna have Yankiel Rivera as the number one ranked contender there on that. Sandoval is, of course, unified champion. You got Angelino Cordova at number two, Sego Akui at number three. Let's see, who else is there? Maybe Artem Dalakian at number five. They could probably have like an eliminator there or something like that. But yeah, that I'm telling you, there is, when it comes to these rankings here that we got, like that's something because you had what was it, Rivera, right? That had the win over Cordova. Well, not even a win, actually. It should have been something like that. Therefore, actually Cordova, even though he had like 2 points taken away, right? He was still out boxing dude. So it said like with Yankiel Rivera having a fight against Cordova for his like eighth professional fight. Yeah, that wasn't a good move or a good look for him. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I don't know if they're going to revisit that fight here later on, have a rematch to see if because that could have been like a WBA final eliminator. So they would probably want to see if they could sort that out, right? Yeah, so I will see if they're gonna revisit that, and then for the rest of these rankings, kind of like sort themselves out. For Sigo Akui, I got to see what he could be having here upcoming. As he did have his loss to Kenshiro Taraji there in the the flyweight division, right? So he fell short in that one. got stopped in the last round there. But the thing about it was like he was actually winning that fight according to the scorecards. He had a 1 point lead on two of those scorecards against Taraji. If he was able to get through that 12th round and get the round, the 12th round, he would have been a new WBC champion. But sometimes that happens there in boxing, right? Talk about the other contenders there within the weight class there. Flyweight, Artem Dalakian, Sam Carmona is another one to kind of look for. But that's kind of like who you got on that. Now, for a lot of these other ones, the light flyweight division, just gonna be honest with y'all, hadn't necessarily followed it that much. So you have the world champion there, Kaisuke Takami, there on that. But you also did see Oscar Collazo there on the Golden Boy card recently. Of course, he's a unified champion there at middleweight, right? And he had his bout against Jason Basin in Indio, California, there almost a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, he was winning that fight, but Jason Basin was, being competitive a little bit. You know what I mean? Even though he got knocked down in the first round, he was being a little bit competitive. And then all of a sudden, in the seventh round, when Collazo was, landing a few punches, Jason Basin, looked like he was competitive or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, the bout was stopped. It was stopped by the corner, and then all chaos went on with that. I don't know. Like I said, when it came to that bout, I don't know if some people within that corner of Jason Basin had the under or something because they just went ahead and they stopped that fight. That jump was crazy. It was insane. But you see there Oscar Collazo as a unified champion there, WBA and WBO. They don't have anyone rated there as number one. So, we'll see what they have next here for Oscar Collazo. Like around some boxing circles, they say Oscar Collazo is one of the better fighters out there in the sport of boxing. Yes, even at the minimum weight division or whatever they call it there, right? Some may say it's like a mini flyweight or whatever it is. But like I said, with it being like a 105, I'll have to see, a little bit more on that. But you see there with Jason Basin now ranked at number 14 in the WBA ranking. So that covers everything when it comes to the WBA. Yeah, it was, breakdown of sorts there for that, you know. Um, and I would say kind of like look at, what's happened. Excuse me. What's happening there among the light heavyweight division, of course, with Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol. Who knows where Bivol is going to end up going? David Morrell Jr. We have to see what's going to be going on with him. Anthony Yard, of course, has his fight with David Benavidez. And Dion Nicholson, of course, is facing Archer Beterbiev there on November 22nd. So that's one to kind of look out for. I mentioned there Fabio Wardley having his upcoming bout against WBO interim champion Joseph Parker. They're supposed to be in a couple weeks, right? So that's another fight to look forward to as well. Outside of that, I have to see what's going to be going on with Jose Resendiz. He could be in the mix for a fight later this year. I don't know if it's going to be against someone like Jamal Charlo, but he could still be in one. But excuse me. But you would see there that he could have something lined up and in the works. One. So yeah. MMA Boxing Addict says that David Morrell Jr. should have the rematch with Imam Katayev. Imam Podeano. Nah. I don't think so. I've said it here. I was there at that the stadium in Queens. To me, like the only thing with Imam Katayev was that he landed some power shots and scored that knockdown. But outside of that, he really didn't do much for me. Not from an activity standpoint. Particularly in the second half of the fight, I really didn't see much from Imam Katayev on that. Yeah, and he says like it was surprising though, due to Morrell coming off of that fight against David Benavidez February 1st, where I thought he did good. I mean, he did good in that, but he also blew that one. He blew that one actually to me. He did. Even before him scoring a knockdown, there was a lot of instances where he was, inactive and allowed David Benavidez to go to work. When you're seeing David Benavidez, try to, chop or work around that high guard that, David Morrell has. He has like a wide high guard where he has a lot of open points. And I've said it multiple times, here on down and then around the corners. And then even with that, you seen David Benavidez do that chop down, like work down one hand and shoot with the other. There over the course of those rounds in that bout that happened in T-Mobile Arena on February 1st of this year. So we do have, like I said, that they still look like they're in the works for David Morrell Jr. versus Callum Smith, right? So with that being said, yeah, David Morrell will have to shore that up real quick against Callum Smith, with of course being a former champion there in the super middleweight division and being a contender there at light heavyweight. Callum Smith is not someone that you will want to play around with if they do have that fight locked in. So we got to see what happens if they do have that fight, maybe for early next year or whatever it is. But we'll have to see how that goes on that front. All right, so that was the thing there with the WBA rankings. Next thing up there I wanted to talk about was something that could potentially happen out there in the 168-pound division, right? And I'm like this, man. It says like a big announcement or whatever it is coming from Janibek Alimkhanuly. Now, of course, he is a unified champion there at 160 pounds. There hasn't been much progress as far as like who he could potentially fight there at 160. Some were thinking that he could have a unification bout with Carlos Adames, WBC middleweight champion, but there has not been any progress for that. It looks like the negotiations that fell apart, and maybe that Janibek has moved on. But then he had something where he posted that, hey, there's a big announcement coming soon there that could be a big fight. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go there. It should be showing here on the screen. This is what he posted on September 29th. There will be a big fight. So I guess within the next couple of days or so, if he hasn't said anything in reference to that or any news that's been released there, that it could be a fight that maybe, just maybe against who? Hamzah? Could it be Hamzah Sheeraz? I don't know. I mean, you got Hamzah Sheeraz that had his recent bout in Queens where he knocked out Edgar Berlanga. Yeah, he knocked him out, clean out, dusted him up, bust him up, all that type of stuff, right? But we have a few things here where there's been rumors that this could be the fight for these two. But I've also seen something where it could be Hamzah Sheeraz against another opponent. I've seen recently that it could be Hamzah Sheeraz versus Caleb Plant. Now, if it's Hamzah Sheeraz versus Caleb Plant, ooh, that's gonna be a real interesting thing, man. But we'll see, man. It says, yeah, Hamzah's a good one, but it would be a 168. Given, if it was going to be Hamzah Sheeraz versus Janibek, it would be 168. I mean, remember, Hamzah Sheeraz was at 160, competed at 160, and had that bout that he had against Carlos Adames there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where it ended up being a draw. But at that time he said like he had like an injury, dealing with weight issues, so that's why he went up to 168 when he fought Edgar Berlanga, and he beat him up. I'm sorry, he beat him up. And he says he's really comfortable there at 168. So if it's anything, it'll be at 168. Not only that, Janibek Alimkhanuly has had a couple of issues with weight when it comes to being there at 160 pounds. So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes up to 168 and has a bout with Hamzah Sheeraz. That would be a key bout there at the super middleweight division, right? But yeah, I have to see. And he also says what maybe it was possible for Erislandy Lara, Carlos Adames, or Terrence Crawford if he decided to go down. Yeah, it wouldn't be Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford. Here's the thing with Terrence Crawford. As I was mentioning when I talked about the WBA rankings, Terrence Crawford has fought like one fight a year ever since what, like 2020 or something like that. He's had this bout here against Canelo Alvarez, got the win, undisputed super middleweight champion. Other than that one off that he had last year, August of last year, against Israel Majumov, he's looking for fights that have lots of money involved with it. So I don't see Terrence Crawford going down to face a Carlos Adames or Erislandy Lara or nothing like that, unless if there's a good amount of money involved with it. That kind of like is around what he got for Canelo Alvarez. While at the same time, he could just wait it out and see if you got a rematch with Canelo, right? And Canelo, a rematch with Canelo, of course, runs circles around any bout against any other fighter that Crawford could have. So I'm not seeing Crawford kind of like facing any of those guys. You know what I mean? It said that Juice says that he heard that Adames is fighting Armando Resendiz. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of seen that too. Let me see if I could uh, pull up something there because I think one my guy L Dub talked about that. Yeah, that it could be on the undercard of Pitbull Cruz versus Lamont Rose Jr. That's supposed to be in San Antonio in December, and that's supposed to be announced, but we're waiting for it. And you already had like Mark Magsayo that could be on that card. Um, but yeah, we could see Carlos Adames defending that WBC title against Armando Resendiz there, who is the WBA interim champion though. So we have to see, but he's the interim champion at 168. You know what I mean? But yeah, Adonis, Resendiz, yeah, that would be a pretty good one. Yeah, it'd be a good scrap, but we'll see. It said, Plant, man, we got some huge matchups for him in line. Make I love Hamzah Sheeraz or Jamal Charlo. Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to have Caleb Plant versus Jamal Charlo this year, but I mean, Caleb Plant just, didn't have what it took in order to get the win over Jose Resendiz, man. So, that's how things work sometimes. You kind of like look. I wouldn't necessarily say look ahead because numerous times Caleb Plant was talking about, hey, I'm not looking ahead, to a potential bout against Jamal Charlo. Focus here on Jose Resendiz, but I'm telling you that fight, he was just not there, man. I mean, the energy level was just not on it, and he could have potentially got stopped if it was good enough activity and accuracy there from Jose Resendiz. He could have actually stopped Caleb Plant. You know what I mean? So there's that, right? So with that being said, that I guess Alimkhanuly fight with Hamzah Sheeraz, we have to see. Was trying to see if I could contact, one source as far as like any updates when it comes to this, but I haven't seen anything yet. You did have, a number of posts there from Janibek. He reposted the thing there for Ring Magazine or his team, and also reposted the thing there for Top Rank. So looks like they got something in the works for Janibek there on that front. You know what I mean? So we have to see how that's going to go on that because At 168, you got a number of potential matchups that would be really good. Of course, we had the thing there that ended up being a draw, which shouldn't have been a draw. There with that WBC interim championship fight. There, right, where you had Lester Martinez there, man, and man, I like I said, man, I think Lester Martinez should have got that win, because I thought he had the much cleaner work there in that bout that he had against Christian and Billy, and he was just landing a number of uppercuts over the course of that fight, But I guess one of them judges like gave way too much credit to Christian and Billy. There, 6 rounds to 4. I didn't really see it as 6 rounds to 4 for Christian and Billy. It could have been like 6 rounds to 4 or 7 rounds to 3 for Lester Martinez, but not 6 rounds for Christian and Billy on that front. But that's like one of the multitude of contenders there within 168 pounds. I mentioned like Diego Pacheco as a contender there as well. So we got a number of action or a number of good fights that could be made there in 168. That could include Hamzah Sheeraz. That potentially could include Janibek if he makes that decision to go up to 168. So we'll see what happens there on that front. All right. Next up here, I wanted to see if I could get this thing going. Actually, let me see if I could call someone up because I wanted to talk about subject here on this thing for the super welterweight division. So I'm gonna see here if I could get in contact with someone on there. So let's see how we do it here. Hold on. Let's see if this will work here. Hold on. We doing a live call here. Let's see if we got what's going on. Let's see if it'll work here on that front. Yo, what's going on? Coach Bernard Hackett in the building, man. We on with the midweek report, man. Following up with you. What's good? Hey, doing well, man. Doing well. Of course, we had the thing there for Jalil Hackett. We talked about it about a week or so ago. We still pursuing that fight. There was Xander Zayas, man.
We're still on the whole thing about getting that fight. It's not a situation that we think is not doable. It's not a situation that we don't think is something far-fetched to make. I'm one to take information that I learn and run with it in the sense of if I hear it enough, it got some sort of belief behind it. So we starting to hear a lot of it. We pushing our agenda to get that fight with him. They haven't announced the fight for him. They tried to get everybody. Either everybody is tied up, or in the case of the WBA champion Abass, he really wants his just due. I've heard he wants 5 to 7 million. Top ain't gonna give him 5 to 7 million for that fight because that's going into a fight that you're gonna take a huge financial loss in because Xander and Abass does not generate $15, $20 million. So that fight is off the board unless they want to do it in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So the only real viable competition that they can give Xander that makes sense is a fight with Jalil Hackett.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because Jalil has made it known, I'm willing to come to Puerto Rico. Jalil has made it known he knows he has to knock Xander out. Jalil is not an excuse maker. So if he gets to the 12th round and he just limps to the finish line, then he retains his title. We know we got to knock him out. This fight, in all honesty, can put the entire 154-pound division on pause. If you look at the other fights that are out there, Fandora Thurman, we know who the betting favorite is going to be. A large betting favorite is going to be Fandora. Boots versus
Luis Malima.
Lima. We know that Boots is going to be the overwhelming favorite. We look at Hammer and Ortiz. We know that Ortiz is going to be the overwhelming betting favorite. So when you look at those fights are predetermined fights. Because if any of the underdogs win, they're such big underdogs, they're going to consider it an upset. The only 50-50 fight that's available for boxing at that weight class is Jalil Hackett and Xander Zayas. And us knowing what we got to do, Jalil feeling so much more comfortable at the 54 weight, we knocking him out within 9 rounds. And that's not putting him down. That's saying we know what our agenda is, we know what our requirement is, so we have to live up to it. Like Jalil said before this last fight with Elijah Vine, if I don't knock you out before the 4th round, then I think I did an underachieving job for disparity. It wasn't a shot at Vine, it was a shot at, I know I'm better than you. And he actually knocked him out in 3.
Yep.
You know, so if it gets to the point where they really want to make the fight, meaning they're back in the corner and Xander needs a good opponent and all the chips are down, I think we the one they got to call. I don't if they do call us for this fight, I don't expect them to call us till November. And the reason I say November, because if you look, Xander's been showing you a lot of him in the gym train. So they done told him when he going, they just haven't inked the opponent. I've also heard from very good people within boxing that we're on a short list of opponents for Xander, where at first the same people were telling us y'all ain't getting that fight. Then they call and say, hey, bro, y'all on the short list. And no matter if we're on the outside of that short list or we're at the top of that short list, everybody else on that short list is not a better fight because they aren't the name level of Jalil. Anybody can say, oh, Jalil don't have a name, but that ain't true. I can prove he got a name. Look how the fight being built. When Jalil injured his ankle, you heard that shit on the ticker.
Yeah.
So once again, you ain't just hearing every fight they get pro-called because they injury on the ticker. So he got a name. So they can stop, not them, their camp. Fans can stop selling that because he got a name. And then if they're telling us they're looking for a name, then how in the hell was Santillan ever on the level to say he was going to get the fight when the last time we saw Santillan, he was flat on his face and Brian Norman was stooping down taking a picture next to him like he was at a curb.
Yep.
Yeah, so, they can't tell me that they can't get OT, can't get Fundora, can't get the WBA. As I mentioned, we were tired. And everybody else is tied up. So who can we fight that the Puerto Rican people will take as credible other than Jalil? Puerto Rican fans ain't going for no bullshit. When we pulled the motherfucking cover off the bed and gave them all the reasons why he can't fight Santillan, they did their investigation. Less than 30 hours later, they was talking shit, and then they took that shit down. You saw the post. How fast did that post get taken down? You ain't heard about it no more.
Yeah. And you seen that like Xander Zayas wasn't for that fight no more.
Yeah, but he was for it when they announced it, but the Puerto Rican people made him not be for it. And like I said, when he said he was going to fight Abass, we said, great, that's a unification. We'll see you on the back end. But then we found out Abass won $7 million, which I don't blame him for. You want me to come to Puerto Rico where I know I got to knock him out to retain my title. And if you make it to the finish line, y'all going to say you won. Give me $7 million. Bob ain't going to give away those $7 million for that. Because if you give Abass $5 to $7 million, what do you got to give Xander? $8, $9 million?
Right.
You got to be crazy. That ain't no $15 million fight.
Right. Exactly. I got a guy Juice here on the live chat for the Midweek Report. He says that he wants that Hackett versus Zayas just as much as you, Coach. But he has doubts because of the WBO's and Xander's relationship. But he's praying for that fight to happen, though.
But it's not. Listen to what I'm saying, and that's a great piece that he brought to the table. It's not a relationship fight. If Xander wants the fight to happen, and I think Xander does. Let me be clear. I think Xander wants the fight to happen. And the reason I say that, from my point, because we haven't, spoke to him, but since we started talking this shit, I know Xander went to his team saying, I can't let this boy talk shit about me. We got to fight. He done switched his management to Bad Bunny. Maybe his management said this ain't the fight we want. And Bad Bunny might be saying, hey, let's do it. And this ain't me saying what I think. This what they put out. He was the one that said, you know, hey, congratulations for joining the Bad Bunny management team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So once again, maybe he's feeling the island pressure, and maybe his team is telling him this ain't the fight you want. But I think Xander is the type of young lion that he getting tired of hearing this shit. He getting tired of hearing it. They don't have an opponent, and he's saying I got an opponent standing in front of me. Why y'all ain't making that fight known? So we got all the time in the world to promote.
Yeah.
So I really feel Xander won it. Xander will take it. All he got to do when he gets it going back and forth with his own team, he can simply just come out and say, hey, Jalil, let's make this happen in Puerto Rico and put the shake your hands emoji up. He do that fight locked.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. I don't think he hide behind the WBO. I'll be honest with you, I don't think Shorty hide behind the WBO. If he was, he could have said a lot of different things. He hasn't said anything. But I look at his actions. He been posting pictures of him back in the gym with some good fighters. He been putting the head down, doing what he got to do. He's showing all the things about him getting ready. Xander and other dudes, they don't be putting nothing up if they ain't getting ready for that.
Yeah.
And then he put his post up about the horse race, the horses. You had the Puerto Rican fans, like y'all 100% Puerto Rican fans. They behind their man. They just asking their man to stay in front of them. Hey man, when you gonna fight Jalil Hackett? They putting that in his shit. The boy is scared. He tough. He too young to be scared. He too young to be scared. Now they just want him to stand up and fight somebody.
Right.
Even Jalil will be reminiscent of Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, the first fight. They was 22 and 24. And it'll also give you to me, the fight style is going to be Thomas Hearns versus Mob Hack. Except I got it going first. That was the greatest middleweight fight ever. Jalil and Xander got a chance to make the greatest super welterweight fight ever.
Yeah, man. And like you said, man, with them, being young fighters that they are, they'll be able to, perform at an optimal level against each other.
Yeah, and they're gonna bring it. They're gonna bring it. I mean, I think them two will go into that fight, and it'll be so much electricity in the arena. I think it'll bring back legendary nights.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I kind of like heard that Jalil Hackett was talking about it there. I think it was through Mill City earlier today. Like you said, he was going after Xander Zayas and Abass Baraou. But the one that he's really focused on is Xander. And with the reasons that you was talking about.
He called out two people. He called out Abass, the WBA champion. He called out Xander. If Jalil would have won, he'd have been calling out to Zayas. Yeah. So he's put his bid in.
Mm-hmm.
But at 154, he's ready, and he's made it known that he wants to be great at the division, and he's made it known that his era is the era he's trying to be great in. So why not the best young 154s get in the ring together? I tell the fans, based on what you've seen, bodies of work, everything about it, popularity, all they're willing to sell, you tell me if they're not the best two young 154s. And I'll say this, under 25.
Yeah. That'll do it. That'll do it there. So that was the thing that I'm like pursuing is you got a number of folks that's been behind this and backing this to support this fight to happen. It's just keeping that going, keeping that talk going to say, hey, you know what, Jalil, he says that he's ready for this fight against Xander, so why not go ahead and make it happen? So we got to, of course, overhear the boxing source and everything like that too. So we're just gonna keep that talk going to see, what Xander's going to end up doing or what his team is going to end up doing, because I don't see where reason is behind that fight not happening in Puerto Rico.
And it's the only fight that's guaranteeing them a second bite at the apple. If they fight Jalil and lose, they have a guaranteed rematch. He's the champ. They got a guaranteed rematch. We have to go in there and beat him twice. And if we don't beat him twice and we split the first two, Bob is the greatest at putting on trilogies in the history of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a trilogy. That's why I said Jalil and Xander, they put the whole 154-pound division on pause. Just think. This just talk conversation about this fight happening, but this fight's talk conversation is getting more publicity than Lima Boots, Fundora, Thurman, and Ortiz versus Ruben. And those are already in fights. And this is more popular than those right now.
Yeah. It's something that, fight fans will be looking forward to. That's the thing about it. Because it's like you mentioned. Yeah, that's like you mentioned, 50-50 fight. Like all the other ones there that are signed, they have, all of those guys that are particularly on the A side is highly favored. You know what I mean? You got Fundora highly favored against Thurman. You got Boots highly favored against Luis Lima. You got Virgil Ortiz Jr. highly favored against Erickson Lubin. So it's like, why not have more 50-50 fights within the division? This one could be that.
And I'm going to go as far as to say this. At first, I was just saying, hey, they two young guys, if they put a great fight on, the second fight will be the big seller. If they announce this fight, and it's happening at the same time those other three fights are happening, I would almost venture to say that Jalil and Xander would make more money for the fighters and the promoters than any of those three fights will make individually. I'm comfortable saying that. I would bet anybody that their fight would be a bigger fight than those other three fights.
Man, so that's the thing, man. We gotta look.
You gotta build a card around them other three fights.
Yeah.
You gotta build a card around them other three. Jalil and Xander in Puerto Rico, you ain't gotta build no card. That's the build up.
Mm-hmm. That's the fight. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Nope. Shit, that fight good enough for them to bring some 24/7 shit or some all access shit back to that fight. That's how big that fight is. Them other three fights, them fights ain't big enough to do that. You got an old Keith Thurman fighting a Fundora, who in my opinion is the best 154-pounder in the world right now. You got Virgil Ortiz, you're in fight Erickson Lubin. Hammer is a great fighter, but he's not the Hammer that we remember for Charlo knockout. And Ortiz, they look for him to blast right through him. So there's no intrigue with that fight. And then when you go to Boots and Lima, I've been in the gym training with Boots. My son sparred with Boots. We done watched him fight and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That shit gonna be a fucking massacre. I'll be the first to say that shit gonna be a massacre. I would damn near bet my money on Lima not getting out of the first round.
Woo.
I would damn near put it like this. If I knew somebody could get under Boots' skin and bet him he couldn't get Lima out of there, Boots would get him out of there in less than 3 minutes. That'd be a 1-round fight. So if we looking at this shit and we just doing the numbers, these ain't me hating on no fight. This is just looking at the numbers. Watch the bookie betting odds. All the fights gonna be like 3-1. In favor of the fight, the favorite gonna be on the cards at 3-1.
Yeah. Yeah, if I look at it right now, man, they probably do have all of that, because I did, talk about the thing there with the Boots joint. Like Boots is already like 31 favorite against Lima. Yeah.
You making my argument for him. Boots is already a 30-1 favorite. What in the fuck type of fight is that? That's the number one motherfucking amateur at 54 fighting fighting the number one motherfucking pro at 54.
Basically.
And them odds ain't gonna change. They wouldn't give a damn if everybody bet $1 million on Usman leaving. They gonna lose that $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna hang a shoe in his ass?
Yeah, that's like I said, that's a really like bad matchup there. And you know, the other joint was like you said, 3-1 with that the
one with the closest odds gonna be motherfucking Erickson
Lubin and Ortiz. You know.
And that still might be 10-1.
Now they got them at like 4. They got Ortiz at like 6-1.
Okay, 6-1. I can go with that too. I said 10. It's 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you go to Fundora versus Keith Thurman, after they saw Keith Thurman had to stand on a chair just to look this man eye to eye, that shit might be 500-1.
It's close around that range. It's like minus 480 favorite for Fundora. So
once again, fight fans are tired of seeing these 90-10 matchups. They tired of seeing that. They tired of seeing the top champions come wrestling with each other. They tired of seeing they either had internet battles that was legendary, and they want to see them fight each other in a ring. Do you know this is the first generation in boxing that will have more fights that didn't get made than big fights that got made? First time ever.
Yeah.
This shit crazy.
It's wild.
And like I said, if Jalil and Xander fight each other as these young guys, it doesn't hurt either one of their careers. Xander and Jalil will still have great careers if they put on a legendary night. Thomas Hearn's career wasn't hurt because he lost to Ray. Ray's career wasn't hurt because he lost to Duran. Remember, Ray had a loss going into the Tommy Hearns fight.
Yeah.
Ray was the underdog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, those guys was warriors, man. I equate that shit to dogs. Ray Leonard, Ali, all them generations, it was American Pitbull Terriers. This generation, they just bullies. They look good when they stand in their position, but they ain't worth shit when you got to run a wrong.
Word. You know, so I think there got to be like a lot of those fighters that got to step up and like had the big challenges, man, instead of having these mismatches or whatever it is.
Look at this shit. Just think about what we not seeing and what they trying to sell us on. We get ready to see Antoine Russell, one of the most vicious motherfuckers in boxing right now. They got him fighting some dude that once again, nobody wants to see. When you could have got the promoters together, we supposed to be seeing Antoine versus Richardson Hitchens right now in the unification.
Yep.
We're not supposed to be seeing this shit. And I know both of them will fight each other. Why are we not seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see that shit 5 years from now. I want to see that shit now.
Yeah, exactly. No.
That's what we want to see when these dudes is in a fucking... They're not in their prime. They're in the prime of their youth. Let people understand that. Jalil and Xander are in the beginning of their youth.
Right.
When they get to like 26, they'll be in the prime of their youth. When they get to the age of 28 to 30 or 28 to 32, that's when they're at their athletic peak prime. After that, it goes downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to wait when we can see the best versions of them in their youth? And then if the rematch happens immediately, we get to see it again. But after Jalil knocks Xander out, maybe Top Rank say, hey, we want to put this on. Or Xander say, hey, man, 154 was hard for me to make up going to 60. We finish what we got to do at 54. We go up, that fight might be made at 60.
Yeah.
But at least it'll still be made in the prime of their youth or in their prime.
Mm-hmm.
We waiting for guys to get out of their prime to make a big fight. Ain't nobody trying to His fans ain't trying to keep going for that shit.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like a lot of these fights that they consider to be big fights, a lot of them now have been being made when these fighters are out of their prime.
Completely out of
it. So it's like
nobody want that shit.
Yeah, it's like why can't we have like these 50-50 fights? Like, I mean, for example, talk about guys that are like, within their youth or, just kind of like starting out, right? Like a couple years ago, you had in the heavyweight division Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois. Both of them were undefeated. They had like about 12 or 13 pro fights. But you just wanted to see where they're at in their pro careers, and so they just matched them up. You know what I'm saying? And
like I said, them dudes willing to fight each other.
Yeah. That was the bottom line. They were willing to fight each other. They weren't saying like, or one person was saying like, oh, let's wait it out until a couple of years from now or whatever it is. Nah. They just went ahead and they just fought.
Yeah, they was warriors, man. Them dudes did not allow themselves to get put in situations where the best is not fighting the best. That's what them guys want. They want the best of fighters want to fight the best fights. The top guys want to fight the best fights. You got guys that don't want to fight the best fighters. It's very rare. That's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
These guys want to fight the best fights. They want to fight the best guys. They want to see who's the greatest. Especially Xander and Jalil, because they haven't been pros long enough to just look at it as a business.
Right.
They're still looking for greatness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
Mike Tyson was the champion at 19, 20 years old.
Yep.
If you say you that guy at 19 or 20, maybe you don't get a 33-year-old who's in his prime of his whole career. But it's 20, 21, 22-year-olds that you were just fighting in the amateurs. Some of who you lost to, they pros too. Fight them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a promotional issue, the promoter will make more money with Jalil and Xander fighting each other than he's going to make with anybody else. And the reason being, because you're not going to have to pay Xander $10 million, Jalil $7 million, like you got to pay for other fights. These dudes, in my estimation, let's just say, hypothetically, they gave Xander $1.5 million, and they gave Jalil $500,000. That's cheaper than what they got to pay some of these champions to fight a dollar.
Mm-hmm. That's fact. That's fact. So I mean, I just want to see like how we'll be able to try to set something like this up to make it happen. I know that they're trying to see about getting in the ring in December.
They're running out of people. Listen, they tried to get everybody that they thought they could get. Nobody who has anything of essence, meaning those guys are world champions or they're one fight away from a world title fight, they're not going to Puerto Rico and let them get stuck up. They ain't doing that shit.
Nah, he ain't.
It ain't the Puerto Rican fan base. You talking about three officials. And we already know if we fight Xander, there's going to be 3 officials who were born, raised, and live in Puerto Rico. We don't care. All we need is a referee that'll let him keep fighting. That's all.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
And the longer the ref let him take a beating, just the more it's taken out of his career. Because Jalil will give him a beat. Xander is a dog. I think he's going to stand there and fight. And then I also think Xander don't know how to get away from shit. I think he's a good boxer, but he getting hit by subpar fighters. And then still taking a toll on him. What happens when he get hit by Jalil? And it ain't nobody that ever told you or you ever heard say Jalil not a superior puncher.
And we know that he's faster. He's faster than Zayas for sure. We know that.
What happens when you get hit by that shit? I want the ref to keep breaking it up and giving him a chance. I want him to. All it is the destruction of a fighter that you're going to see before your eyes. You don't want to destroy him. the best thing they can do is when he get broke down,
stop
him. If you stop him, we can come back and fight again. But if you let him go flat on his face, I don't know if he wants to fight after that.
Right.
Top Rank is the best at building fight. Top Rank is the absolute best at building fight. Look on his record and tell me who you recognize. Don't look at the person's record he fighting. Just look at the people he's fighting and tell me you recognize him. Nobody. So he hasn't had this big marquee fight either now. Yeah, I mean, keep it above. I think at least half the people on his resume would lose to Pete Dobbs. At least half.
Yeah, they would. They would. So it's like, why not, go ahead and have this fight take place? That would be my thing. Like, if y'all looking for an opponent over there in Puerto Rico, Jalil's your guy. And as you said, Coach Menard, who else out there that would have a name that would be, better than Jalil Hackett at this point, who they could fight?
Yeah, you're not gonna trick nobody with no big super name to come to Puerto Rico, not even for $1 million. They wouldn't even take $1 million for that fight. They went from asking for Jose Ramos to saying we're gonna fight Santillan. Come on, bro. Look at the game they play. They knew damn well they wasn't gonna get the Ramos fight. They knew damn well they wasn't gonna get the Fundora fight. So asking for them just look good. They know that if you went from those two guys who you think you can unify with and beat, I'm gonna beat them. Why are you so scared of Jalil? Why? If you knew you was gonna beat them and you looking for a homecoming fight, then you should feel like you gonna wipe Jalil. So why not make that fight? You went from other guys not with your promoter to jumping to Santillan, who, like I said, the last time we really saw him, he was getting knocked out by Brian Nolan. So if that's the case, what does it take us so long to say fight Jalil for? You can't even tell me that it's not a fight people want to see. That's a lie.
Right. You already got the demand that's out there.
Yeah. You want to fight somebody, fight Jalil Hackett. You beat Jalil Hackett, you move on. You lose to Jalil Hackett, you fight him in a rematch. How does that not work for you? You got the ring you want. You can have your favorite aunt, your mama and your grandmama as the officials. You can have your uncle as the referee. Everything is in your favor. Except for who gonna get hit. Nobody can take the punches for it. And we thought in the amateurs at some point when we fight Xander, we wanted to. And maybe this, like I said, this chance now. I'm gonna tell the fans, thank y'all for pushing this. I tell the podcasters, thank y'all for pushing this, because they pushing it too.
Yeah.
A squeaky wheel don't get no oil. If we ain't the squeakiest wheel out there, I don't wonder who it is. If they do find him another opponent, and it's not a unification, if he not fighting Mortaev or he not fighting Abass, and they get him a lame duck just so he look good in Puerto Rico, we're gonna buy tickets to sit in the front row, and we're gonna ask the one question that Puerto Rican fans they gonna ask: why not Jalil Hackett? Because they already showed you they're not going for no bullshit. They're not going for no sad. Them people that's Friday boxing.
Yeah. So that's gonna be the push here, man. Like I said, we in October 1st. We got a few more weeks to push the fight, to demand the fight. So those that are watching right now, those on social media, y'all seen the post. I made posts there on social media. Had other folks out there that's made the post. They're retweeting Jalil Hackett, retweeting or reposting what Coach Bernard has done on social media. Keep pushing the fight. See if we could make it happen. You know what I mean? So that's been the movement here so far over these past 5 or so days. But you just got to keep it going in order to make it happen.
I think the fans and the podcasters and the media that really fucks with the sport of boxing, I think they have been putting a lot of pressure. Like I said, Santillan was supposed to have been the guy that they wanted to push. But Puerto Rican people said, hell no. That made Xander say, hell no. Then they said Xander wants to fight Abass. Abass wants, from my understanding, $5 to $7 million to come put his WBA title on the line in Puerto Rico. Maybe he takes less money if they fight somewhere else. But if they fight in Puerto Rico, nah, Slim ain't giving it away. All the other top guys are locked up with other opponents. So once again, what's the hold up on fighting Jalil? Xander has made it very plain that he wanted to fight Ortiz, he wanted to fight Fundora, but he made it plain when them dudes already had a gas fight. So even if you want to fight them, you gotta wait till next year. If you want to fight this year, you gotta fight Jalil. And they're gonna try, I'm telling you they're gonna try to do, that's why we're in the gym getting ready. Bob and all them gonna wait till November 1st or right before Halloween and say we offered Jalil Hackett to fight, but he said he needed more time. Hell no, we're in the gym right now.
I mean that's
sneak up on us.
Yeah.
Ready. We're gonna say yes.
But that's the thing. Y'all been in the gym since a couple days after the win against Elijah Vines.
Because this is the fight we wanted. Once we realized that Xander had very few options, Jalil said we right back in the gym. And we know Xander getting ready for something because he in the gym. He posted on his social media. We're in the gym.
Yeah.
So if we're in the gym, they done told him we looking for an opponent. If he done switched up his management team, he mad because they told him the truth. We don't want Hackett right now. Whenever your management team says they don't want Hackett right now, they basically said, he gonna whoop your ass. And we trying to keep you protected for a while.
Yeah, it's almost looking like that.
Bob Earl probably told him, boy, if you don't sit down and shut up, his management team, they can't tell him that because he giving you one of those. They told him, hey, Sean, this ain't really the fight that you need right now. We looking for a bigger and better name. They ran that con game on. And he said, who? And they ain't answered him yet. We still looking. If the boy want to fight before the end of this year, he got to fight you. Give these fans a Christmas present. I think if you look at the boxing calendar, so it don't interfere with nobody or nothing, they can have him and Jalil fight December 6th. They can really do some crazy shit, have him fight maybe the 13th. They got all the way December 6th, 13th, and 20th. They got all them dates. If they want to do it before then, really think they caught us off guard, we can fight the weekend before Thanksgiving. We can fight November 15th or the 27th. We have ability to fight. It's days out there that don't interfere with no calendar.
Right.
All they gotta do is make the fight.
Yeah, I'd say something for December 6th. Like put it in Puerto Rico for December 6th. That would be a good date for it. You know what I mean?
December 6th in Puerto Rico would be an excellent date. That gives Xander enough time to heal and enough time to promote the rematch. They can put the rematch in New York. We want to beat them in both of the cities that we like. And that rematch can go back in the ring sometime. I think if we get December, 60 days to heal, 12 weeks to train, we can be back in the gym in April or May. We can be back in the ring for the rematch in April or May. As if they won it. Because if Jalil knocked him out the first time, which is going to happen. And in the rematch, if he made it 9 rounds, I cut that shit in half to Jalil because that's how he got.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Sure on that, man. So that's what we're looking forward to, man, is getting in line to make that fight happen. And like I said, man, I'll try to go for December 6th. You just gotta, as you said, waiting on the phone call. But as we were mentioning there, that's why you gotta be in the gym, every day, man. You gotta stay ready. You don't have to get ready for nothing if you're there anyway. So you just stay ready.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not gonna ever put Xander in a bad light. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody said something about Jalil and Xander fight on Instagram, and it was on give credit to the block. It was on Street Stop Boxing, and I said, nah, I give Xander more credit. The only way he don't fight us is he get a unification fight. That's the only way I think Xander won't take our fight. And I mean Xander himself. What his promotion team might want to do, they want to keep him safe. But as far as what I think he would do, yeah, he'll probably miss unless he get a unification.
Word.
I just go on what I see. I ain't Xander can't. But he picked up Bad Bunny as a new manager. Maybe his team told him the truth. I don't think he could do that. And he took that offensive. He ain't got new manager.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see here over these next few days, going into the next couple of weeks. But like I said, I mean, we're gonna still continue to push it and try to get it closer to actually making it happen. But like I said, I know that Jalil's there working in the gym as always, out there and things like that. So definitely gonna be catching up with you later on down the line to see if there's any progress with this, man.
Man, definitely. Like I said, anytime you put something up, tag me in it. If there's any questions that fans have, y'all can DM me or my son. I think I usually answer faster than him, but yeah, if it's something I need him to get on, he get on it. Like I said, for us, we want the fight.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't about money. This about legend.
For sure, man. So y'all definitely follow up with you on that and see if I get Brother Jalil on here later on, probably like later this week or next week. You know what I'm saying?
Sound like a plan, coach.
All right, for sure, man. Hit you up later.
All right, bro.
All right, bet. So yeah, there goes Coach Bernard Hackett there. Like I said, they've been really pursuing that fight with Xander Zayas, the WBO champion there at light middleweight, as they say with the World Boxing Organization. We mentioned a thing there as far as like potentially having Xander Zayas going up against Giovanni Santillan, but Zayas ain't looking like he's going for all of that. You go through the rankings there for the WBO. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, what could they basically do at this point when it comes to that? Because I mean, if you're gonna have guys that are already occupied, you know what I mean, that you'll have fights coming up or fights scheduled or anything like that, then it ain't necessarily gonna work for Xander Zayas. Like you're not gonna have him going up against Josh Kelly, who's there number one. Josh Kelly looks like he's in a fight with the IBF champion there, Abass Murtazaliev. You already got Boots Ennis in the fight. You already got Eric Salubin in the fight. You had Zuri Borchuk that lost. You know what I mean? You got Jesus Ramos that's there that's fighting for the WBC interim championship against Shane Mosley Jr. Got an article about Jesus Ramos that's up on the boxingsource.net actually right now, right? You got Keith Thurman there at number 7, who's going up against Sebastian Fundora. Israel Madrimov, I mean, I don't think he'll be available, especially in a fight that's over there in Puerto Rico. So I don't think that's going to happen. You had Jorge Garcia that just had the fight with Xander Zayas. Julian Vogel, not necessarily seeing that. Nikita Zoo, I don't think that they're going to have Nikita Zoo out there, having that take place. Colin Walsh just had the fight there over at the Legion Stadium. So a number of these fighters either have a fight, they already fought, or something. So that's why they're trying to push for Xander Zayas having a fight with Jalil Hackett and just put Jalil Hackett there in the rankings and just make that be the voluntary defense for Xander Zayas. And Zayas ends up having a fight, he loses to Jalil Hackett, he has that option for the rematch. So there you go on that. And as you mentioned, with Xander Zayas having a recent, basically being signed there with Remus Sports, there that's headed by Bad Bunny, who of course has recently announced to be the Super Bowl halftime show performer. So it's like a couple of moves that's being made there for Xander Zayas, behind the scenes or whatnot. But here for his, upcoming fight, he says he wants to fight in Puerto Rico. Said he will try to be having around December. Why not Jalil Hackett? So you got that on that front, man. Just real quick, before we close out this midweek report, y'all, wanted to talk about this. This is also part of the list of topics that we had, right? You had Zuffa Boxing versus everybody, it looks like. And what is Dana White thinking? It's crazy. You've had a number of instances where, he's kind of like been out there through interviews, whether it's been, through Brian Campbell, right? You've had, of course, Max Kellerman that's been talking a lot about Dana White and what he's doing or trying to do, or of course, being involved with the bout between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. But then also, seeing about getting Ring Magazine involved in Zuffa Boxing and probably having a partnership there with Ring Magazine, particularly Turkey LLC and Zuffa Boxing, given that he already has a relationship through UFC and TKO, of course, with UFC, WWE, and then having Turkey LLC there with his like Riyadh season, whatever he's trying to get involved with, to kind of like say, okay, we want to make moves in order to make an impact in the sport of boxing, right? And that would be like one of them is to have the Ring Magazine be involved and kind of like either incorporate Ring Magazine rankings and not and have like any other organization involved with it. That means the sanctioning bodies that are currently in place: the World Boxing Council, the World Boxing Association, the World Boxing Organization, and the International Boxing Federation. Um, and it's going to make things interesting, so to speak, because if you're going to have your own type of ranking system, who are the fighters that you're going to have involved with it? And are they going to fully be involved and fully be affiliated with Zuffa Boxing or Ring Magazine? They want to kind of like bring in the whole thing as far as like saying, hey, we have like a unified body, just having one champion, like no other champions out there, no other, interim type things or anything like that to try to consolidate, right? Trying to, get to the thing where fans have been requesting for like all of these belts not being incorporated and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, is it going to lead to better fights within boxing? One, and is it going to have the fighters themselves involved to kind of like be part of it? Because think about it is that given the track record, given the history there with Dana White and what he's done with UFC, is that same thing gonna be working in boxing? A lot of people feel like it's not, because of the whole thing with the pay scale and how he's trying to restructure things, particularly with the modifications to or the proposed modifications to the Muhammad Ali Act, or him just trying to circumvent the Muhammad Ali Act altogether. Not sure that's going to work. That's why he tried the whole thing that he did in California, because the California State Athletic Commission would be someone that would properly enforce the Muhammad Ali Act. You would probably see the same thing with the Texas State Athletic Commission, New York State Athletic Commission, Georgia, Florida, Nebraska, Michigan. all across the country. So then, where would he be able to properly incorporate it? Hmm, maybe somewhere outside of the U.S. Maybe he could try that, but within the U.S., nah, I don't think it's going to work all too hot. So when it comes to him trying to, see how he could maneuver this thing here for Zuffa Boxing, particularly in the U.S., I'm not sure how far it's going to go for him. But he's going to continue to try to do that. Given his, I guess, influence or whatever it is in combat sports, that maybe he could try something like that. But as far as I know, I don't think it's gonna go that far, so to speak. Right. So that was my quick take on that. Big thanks for everyone that's been able to tune in here over the course of this particular midweek report. A big thanks to Coach Bernard Hackett to chime in as far as like that push for Jalil Hackett to face Xander Zayas for that WBO light middleweight championship. Okay. We went through the WBA rankings here that was released, and kind of like talk about a potential matchup there at 168 pounds. You can go back to the replay to see what I had as far as like a potential matchup between Hamzah Sheeraz and Janibek Alimkhanuly. That could be a matchup, or it could be something else for both fighters. We have to wait and see. Janibek said that there's going to be an announcement here coming soon. We're just waiting on what that could be. All right. We're going to be having more content here for Sunday, of course, with the Abass Source podcast, and we have something planned for Friday. We're going to see if we can get something in the works for Friday, because we have the fight card that's October 18th at the Barclays, and of course, headlined by Danny Swift Garcia, that's going to be going up against Daniel Gonzalez there. But we're going to see about having one of the fighters that's on the card be on for Friday. Just trying to see if we can lock that down. So once I get information on that, we'll be able to let you know here through social media channels there. Of course, you follow us on social media through Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever they call it. You know what I mean? I got to do some work on TikTok, man. Like that, I've been definitely slacking on the TikTok joint, but we're gonna try that as well. You see the thing there for Cash App, support, the movement here at the Boston Source. May come up with something for like sponsorships, because I'm gonna have it to where like it really wouldn't be much for like a sponsorship for like the month. Not much at all. Like it'd probably be about, I don't know, $10 to $20 or something. You know what I mean? Just like $10 to $20 there to like sponsor the Boston Source for like a month or something. So I might come up with that, and yeah, how many is on the beat right there? Yep, that's it right there, yo. With that being said, I'm out, y'all. Peace.